Hey guys, thanks for going on this nerd journey with me. If you want your episodes ad-free, go to makemeanerd.com/join and hit that button.
Hooked on you, baby, you're golden. Time moves, I never noticed. Just can't get enough. Got me wonderstruck.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Make Me a Nerd with Mandy Kaplan. I'm Mandy Kaplan. Here's the deal. I'm a mainstream mom who loves Taylor Swift and football, and I have been avoiding nerd culture my whole life. Perhaps I've even been a little afraid of it. If you're new here, this is how this works. I ask the noob questions, and my guest brings their passion and expert energy, and we try to figure out what it is I have been missing out on. It's a little different today because the thing I've been missing out on is one of the most popular mainstream worldwide phenomenon in the world. So I've invited one of the most popular mainstream worldwide phenomenon guests to nerducate me about Traitors. He is the editor-in-chief of Entertainment Weekly. He is a performer in Miscast Right Singer Wrong Song, next show starring him coming up May 17th here in Los Angeles. And he's one of my dear friends. I couldn't love him more. Friend of the podcast, Patrick Gomez.
You're the best hype woman in the world, Mandy.
Oh, supermodel. Shoot, can we start over? I forgot to say supermodel.
Of course. Anytime. Let's add more.
Right? So I had all these grand plans forgetting this was a podcast. I'm like, I'm going to wear my hood up and reveal myself to you, and you're going to scream, and we're going to be the traitors in the turret. I was going to have your name on a board that I flipped over and explained. But it's a podcast. Nobody's going to see any of that.
Well, I would have, and I would have appreciated it, but your pink sweater is a good substitute.
I hope so. I'm trying to bring the sunshine on a cold day in Los Angeles. What the hell is Traitors? Why does everybody love this show? Why do you love this show?
The short answer is I don't know. It is a show that should not work, at least in my opinion. It is basically watching people play werewolf or mafia, if you're familiar with that game, where you are in a room with a bunch of people, and some of them have been designated the werewolf or the mafia members, and they're killing people in the room in secret, and you've got to try and figure out who they are. That should not work as a TV show. But I think it comes down to the casting and just the sincerity with which they commit to the bit, that they are really looking for these killers, or in this case, traitors. And it just works because people start to get paranoid. And in that paranoia comes fantastic television.
Well, look, I can't believe how seriously these people take it. And in America, the American version is all reality TV stars.
Correct. It didn't start that way. The first season was half reality stars and half newcomers to TV.
Regular people.
Correct.
Okay.
And they do have a version for the US coming that is only regular people. That one will air on NBC, versus the celebrity edition will continue to air on Peacock.
On the Peacock. One of my essential problems with this bizarre cast of characters that they have on season 4, that's the one we're breaking down for you. Spoilers will be abundant. So if you're behind, you can pause this podcast. You can go back and listen to Patrick's other episodes about Charmed and Survivor on Make Me a Nerd. Wonderful episodes. And then come back and join us when you're caught up on Traitors. But this bizarre lineup of characters includes Lisa Rinna, Michael Rapaport, Johnny Weir and Tara Lipinski, Olympic gold medalists, and some people I've never heard of that have, on the chyrons it says from Survivor, from Temptation Island or something like that, right? I don't know these people, but I know they're all on TV, and I know they all seemingly have money. and they are playing for money on this show, not for charity. Is that correct? What say you, Patrick Gomez?
That is correct. It is one of the interesting things because most of the celebrity editions of shows, they're playing for charity. Here they are playing for themselves. And I know in some cases they obviously get appearance fees and such. And I know that that's the case with this show as well. So they're making a good amount of money just walking onto set on day one. But yes, they know this is not for charity. They are there for themselves. And honestly, I think that probably makes them actually play harder than they would otherwise. But it is very funny, and I'm sure we'll get into it, that some of them walk in and have no idea what's going on. And then others walk in and they are super fans of the show and are running circles around those who are like, who's Alan Cumming and what are we doing here?
Right. Well, since you brought up Alan Cumming, let's go for it. Don't hate me, because I love Alan Cumming as an actor, as a musical theater performer, as a human being. I've seen him in interviews. He's wonderful. But this character of himself that he's playing, caricature, with the exaggerated accent and the exaggerated drama, it wears thin fast for me.
It's interesting because I do think that he has been a part of the draw for people in the sense that they just think he's so ridiculous and over the top, and the way he says murder and all these things have become part of how people discuss the show. Like everyone uses the words that he accentuates, and the wardrobe has become its own talking point. And not just for him, but they, from what I understand, they don't have stylists that work with them from the show, but they are all kind of given a prompt. All the contestants are given a prompt of like, we're going for this sort of vibe in the castle. So if you notice, they all are kind of like really dressed to the nines.
Yes, they must have their glam squads with them.
Oh, I'm sure they have their individual one. Like individually, they are coming, but the show doesn't work with them, or at least not with most of them. I'm sure maybe some of the ones that don't have stylists maybe are asking for help, but they do, at least according to interviews, they also do, according to sources, they also do all their own hair and makeup while they're there, which for some of them, I'm sure.
No. I'm not believing this. They look so glamorized.
But if you also notice some, especially the housewives, a lot of them are wearing sunglasses a lot. And I think that might have to do with it, because not only are they doing their own hair and makeup, but the structure of the show is they all arrive for breakfast. Then they go do a challenge. Then they go into the round table, and they're wearing these very glamorous outfits for breakfast and the round table. And then they're in like workout gear for the challenges. And they do film all that in a day. They get up, get ready for breakfast, get in glam and makeup. Then they get into their workout clothes. Then they get back into those same glam clothes. Because everyone on social media, a lot of people have been like, I don't understand how this show is filmed, because there's no way they do this. And the cast members have said, no, it's exactly what we do. We get ready twice. We get ready twice, which is crazy. But Alan sets the tone for all of that. And I think the over-the-topness, while not for you, does help the show make sense, because the show is, like I said, the show is ridiculous. Like,
it's in a castle in Scotland,
yes.
Right? Are they in Scotland?
Exactly. Correct. And it's actually very close to where Alan lives, which is very convenient for him. But I think that helps, at least initially helped the show kind of find itself, because it's over the top, and these people are accusing each other based on no actual facts that they are traitors.
Right. Which is how this game works. Like, I used to play murder with Mandy Fabian, and I get that when you're at a party with your friends, one of you is like, I'll be the detective and I'll put on a voice. Which one of you was in the dining room, right? But it does, even at a party after 10 minutes, you're like, drop the voice and just get to the good parts. And he never drops the voice.
No, he certainly does not. He commits to the bit. And it's not for everyone, but I do think that it helps the cast as well. Like, go for it. Like, okay, I'm committing to this too. And you know, I think at the end of the day, the whole show is ridiculous, and so he's just like, I'm going to be ridiculous too.
It's not unlike role play or Dungeons and Dragons in that
That is correct.
right? It's these made up circumstances. You are improvising. You are embracing your new reality at every step. If you are told tonight there'll be a cocktail party and one of you will be murdered, you're just like, now that's my new reality. I got to roll with that. Role playing, LARPing. I'm on a rabbit hole here.
Look at you.
Yeah, but I get the nerd appeal for the show. I get why this has seemingly appealed to just a wide swath of people. Obviously, reality junkies like you love it, like me, but I could also see real nerds getting into it.
Totally, because you get into the strategy, you get into the gameplay part of it. And I think that that's one of the genius things about the casting of this American version, in that I don't watch The Real Housewives, but now I am fans of and know a bunch of housewives because they've been on this show. Same with Love Island, same with some of the other all in the NBCU universe. So it's also great cross promotion. There was a woman who was on season 2
Wait,
and
Survivor?
3.
They have Survivor.
Correct.
People.
It's not all NBCU,
Okay.
but a lot of them are.
Makes sense.
And I think it's really smart because I also never watched Below Deck, and to be honest, it hasn't gotten me to the point that I'm actually going to watch the show, or at least that I haven't yet. But there's a woman on season 2 and 3, Kate, from Below Deck. And I was like, well, now I want to see everything this woman has ever done. And so I think that it does a good job of that.
And it appeals to the nerd approach, which is like deep diving and offshooting and, really going down these rabbit holes. That's how nerds approach things, the things they love. It's obsessive and it's all encompassing. And I will say, I somehow managed to compare Hunger Games to Below Deck last week. I swear, hand to God, it made sense when I did it. But
Sure.
So if you don't believe me, everyone, go have a listen to Hunger Games, the book, not the movie, because I did 2 episodes with Mona Chatterjee about the Hunger Games. Yeah, I want to talk about this cast. This seems to be a combination of trash and then really classy people that I look up to, like Kristen Kitsch, because I'm a big
Kristen.
Top Chef fan. Have you met her?
Yes, and she's just as lovely in person. Like, I love it so much. She has a viral moment this season where she used this like massive bread cutting knife to put butter on her toast. And it went viral because everyone was like, why are you using it? And she like had this fantastic defense of like why she was using this knife. And I love her so much.
Well, first of all, sidebar, Patrick Gomez has appeared on Top Chef.
I have been fortunate enough to get to go to Restaurant Wars, an opening season, like street fair, and Restaurant Wars a second time. It is a fantastic experience. I can't wait for the new season coming up in March, I think.
Oh, I hope I think it's April, but whenever it is, we play Top Chef Fantasy, so I'm
You're gearing up.
I'm very excited. But these people the people on Traitors take this so extremely seriously, and it makes me question its veracity when they're sobbing and they're, getting into fights and screaming at each other. But then I realize it's a TV show, and if they interview someone or a rep calls up, like honestly, Tara Lipinski is like too kind and sweet and calm for this world. Mark, what's his last name? The dancer?
Dallas.
Doesn't belong on a reality show. So normal, logical, it doesn't make for great television. What makes for great television, unfortunately, is Michael Rapaport, who made me want to barf and punch my TV all the time. But that's what you get with reality TV. And they cast this random mix of people.
And you need the mix.
And here's one thing I want to ask you, expert. Do their reps call NBC and say, you can have Lisa Rinna. Sure, she'll do it, but she has to be a traitor.
Oh, I guarantee you. I mean, no one would ever come out and say it, but I guarantee you, yes, that definitely happens.
You just made me
Um,
so happy.
um, and I think a lot of it is the casting and the producers saying, "Oh, let's try and get this many housewives and this many gamers," as they call. What's interesting is, I've been on here talking about Survivor, which is about to enter season 50. Or at the time that people are listening to this, we will be in season 50. And I've watched since season 1, and you forget how like the verbiage and kind of the lore of the show is established because it's now so many years in, and it just is like, come on in, like all the stuff Jeff Probst says. It's like that's just what Jeff says. You forget that at one time he said it for the first time, and because we're only in season 4, it's been so interesting to see what verbiage latches the casts latch onto. So we now have the housewives. There's always enough housewives that the housewives are their own little cluster, and then we have what they've called the gamers, and it's all the ones from the gaming reality shows.
Okay.
Like Survivor,
Big Brother.
Big Brother,
Yeah.
like the ones, the people that come in and have played a game where there is strategy and physical competitions and all that sort of stuff. And then you have increasingly
Ron Funches.
Ron Funches, and as you mentioned, Michael Rapaport. You have these people who are just actors that aren't from the reality world. And I agree with you that Mark has been kind of a non-entity on most of the season. But what's interesting is I at least in terms of how much they've talked about it, he is the biggest super fan of the show.
So maybe he's intentionally flying under the radar so he doesn't get voted off.
I think there's part of that. There's part of that, and I also think, just to your point, naturally he's kind of not a big dramatic person. So I think it's partially his personality, but partially strategy. He came in with like a full notebook of exactly how he was going to play it, and spoiler alert again, as you mentioned, makes it very far.
Yeah. Yes, the last episode we got. Have you seen it all the way through? Did you get advanced copies? Because you're very
no.
fancy.
So I've seen everything but the finale at this point.
And is that what I've seen? With the last night they showed it on Peacock and it said the welcome to the semifinals or something, and I was like, what?
Correct. So next so next week is the finale.
Oh wow. That feels fast. I feel like they could milk it.
The end game is very fast because ultimately it gets a little repetitive when there's that few people. Survivor's the same way. You go from like 6 people to 1 in one episode, and it'll be the same here.
That was not a complaint, but something I pointed out. I had Jer on and we did the Great Pottery Throwdown. And it starts with 12 potters or something, and it gets down to 3 potters, and the episodes are still over an hour. How is that possible? And they just stretch and milk. And he schooled me like, well, that's television, and as an editor, that's what we got to do. And I get it. I totally get it. But I prefer it to
move along.
Yeah, fast-paced. This show is quite fast-paced and multifaceted. But one facet that's missing from this show is that they don't show or talk about the food they are eating. That's how I know it's not an Andy Cohen production. Because he insists that the housewives order on camera and show their food on camera, so we always know what they're eating. And I love him for it.
This season, there has been a lot of chatter about, because in the first few episodes, they are very eager to eat the salmon available at the locks at the beginning of breakfast. And if you're one of the later people that come into the breakfast room, usually it's gone, and people have been like upset that there's not salmon for them. But you're right, they don't spend a lot of time on the food, except for sometimes it actually comes into play. In season 3, there's always a challenge where, or at least one challenge throughout the season, where a group of contestants are left at the site of the challenge while everyone else goes back to the castle. And there was a huge fight in season 3 because everyone that went back to the castle first ate all the food. So by the time that everyone else got back, they were wet and cold and hungry, and there wasn't enough food left. And they were so mad that they didn't wait to eat when everyone was back. So sometimes the food comes into play.
Right,
but especially
Kristen's
for the
a
show
chef.
where
I want to know. I want her to be.
oh, she said the food was awful. She was like, she's on her social media has like gone on and talked about the fact that like she was so craving cooking for like she's like the food was so bad that's why she's like constantly making toast, or she was trying to figure out how to make things. They have a little like candy snack bar in the kitchen, and she was like, I was trying to figure out how to like melt candy onto other, like she was like, I just, one, needed to cook, and 2, was so sick of the food that they were feeding us, because again, they're in the middle of nowhere in a castle in Scotland, so everything they're eating is like basically catering,
Yeah.
which, you know, in the middle of nowhere is not going to be super fresh or the most authentic if you're eating anything that's not Scottish delicacies, I guess.
How long are they there?
I believe they shoot relatively, an episode is a day. So they're really only there like probably 2.5 weeks.
Oh.
3 weeks at most.
Okay.
At most. They do this as quickly as possible.
All right. Well, probably, I mean, I don't know a lot of these people, but I would imagine they have companies they're running and businesses to get back to, and Donna Kelsey has a wedding to plan. So, right? Did I get her name right?
Oh, Mama Kelsey.
Yeah.
Oh, Mama Kelsey. That she was an interesting choice.
She was adorable.
There's also rumors that she did not participate in the challenges.
Well, she wasn't on long enough.
Well, but there was challenges every episode, and there's like people that have gone back and watched, and they're like, if you watch, she's like never in, like conveniently never in footage of like actually participating in the challenges, which I find fascinating if true.
Ooh, she shouldn't have to. There was certainly, during one heavy challenge, there were some people just sitting and not, and I wrote, I would jump off the thing and help my team push. And why wouldn't that be allowed? It just seems obnoxious to sit there.
Yeah, I mean, also though, you've got to imagine that most of these people are not used to this sort of like physical activity, and are probably, you know, used to being pampered and are taking advantage of the moment, for sure. But especially early on, there is value in being good at the challenges, because, you know, there's a term that they use. It's like, I don't care if you're a traitor, you're a bad faithful. And therefore, I don't care if you're here or not because you're negative. There's a moment with Michael Rapaport where they're just like, I don't care if you're a traitor or not. Like, you are just distracting and you're a bad faithful. And so you got to go no matter what. And being bad at challenges is part of that, because it's like, if it doesn't matter if I make it to the end and if there's not enough money for it to matter. So if we're bad at the challenges because you're slacking, then like you got to go, because I want the prize pot to be huge.
Right. I'd rather have somebody young and virile, and yeah. Now you threw out the word "a faithful," and that is the term on the show. And I would like to say, the most faithful producer, Pete Wright, makes Make Me a Nerd for True Story FM. And if you enjoyed my theme song, I want to talk about the music on Traitors a little bit, but my theme song is Wonderstruck by Jane and the Boys. And if I were in a castle, I would want Pete Wright on my side. He is just the best. The word faithful is always so funny when they're like, I'm a faithful. And I got used to it, but it's definitely not grammatically correct. It's one of those things you were saying about Jeff Probst, you know?
Yep, it is a terminology, and you just you get to kind of learn the language of the show, and like I said, that's been a really cool thing. Most of the shows I am a fan of in the competitive reality space have been around long enough that you forget that they had to have origins, and it's been really fun to watch the show figure themselves out, because it took them a few seasons to even really make the challenges worth watching, in the sense that they used to just be there to increase the money in the prize pot, but there was no real game reason for them to exist outside of for them to earn money to put into the prize pot.
So did they add shields and such?
They added shields. They added that the traitors have to do X, Y, and Z during this. I think they were. I would imagine I would imagine that they were wary of kind of just becoming The Mole, which is this other reality show that originally aired on ABC. And then after a long hiatus, there was a new version of it on Netflix for a couple seasons, which was like the Traitors. There was one person there, except for they were there to sabotage the missions. And they got money for every mission they sabotaged. And I think that Traitors was trying hard not to be that. And they've now found a way to not be that, but to add drama and stakes to the challenge beyond earning money, where, yeah, as you pointed out, there's shields that can protect people. And so then it's like, oh, I took a shield instead of money. That's selfish.
Right.
Or are you taking a shield because you're faithful and you need the protection? Or are you taking it because you're a traitor and you want to make sure nobody else has the shield?
Well, what would you do? Because there was one challenge where they said, if no one takes one, then there was, what was it? If no one takes it, then you all survive or something. But if somebody takes it, then there's a murder. Was that it? What would you do?
I mean, that's where the gamers, because I believe it was Natalie, who's a Survivor winner, two-time Survivor player. Her first time she played, she won. That's where the gamers, I think, really shine, is in those moments, because the housewives are just like, well, I don't know, I guess I won't take a shield. And, then some of the other people were like, I have to have one. And I thought it was really great that, I believe it was Natalie that chimed in, just being like, no one take it. If no one takes it, and if you do, then like you're the next one out. And in that case, it's like you have to go with that plan, because then you can't betray everyone, or you'll be the next one out. So in this case of when that happened this season, I would have had to have gone along with the plan. I think because there is a UK version that is not. Now they have actually a version like the US one, but for the most part, the UK version is non-reality stars. It's just regular people. And they had the similar situation, and it plays out extremely differently. What's fun, though, is that they film it in the same castle, and they reuse the challenges. So if you're watching both seasons, it's so fascinating to be like, oh, wow, that twist or that challenge played out so different with another cast. It's this weird, like, bizarro world. The host there, Claudia, oh my God, she's great too. She's a character as well. She's a really famous UK TV host, and she is definitely very different from Alan, but equally fabulous.
Gotcha. The challenges are my least favorite part.
You're not
watching
alone there.
People run around and get muddy and find things in the ground. I get it. And they go on quite long. I would rather watch all the arguing at the round table. But then again, that's my taste. I like a reunion on a housewives show rather than, when they're on
they
vacation.
do reunions with these casts too, and Andy Cohen hosts them, which, isn't my favorite decision, but they are epic. They are epic, and people do not hold back.
Is that also on Peacock?
Correct. Yep.
Oh, thank God. So there is an official podcast, and they put an ad in the front of it. And I want to know if you listen to the official podcast. And then I thought, but this is Patrick Gomez. Do you host the official podcast?
I would host it in a heartbeat.
Right?
But no, they have two former contestants, a former Drag Race star and a former Survivor star who have been on seasons of The Traitors.
Okay.
They host it, and it's really funny to hear their takes, because they come from having actually played the game, but also it's Bob the Drag Queen and Boston Rob, and they
I know
don't hold
Boston
back.
Rob because of you.
Yes, there you
Yes.
go. Survivor All-Star. Um, he he does not hold back, and certainly Bob does not either. And it's really interesting to hear their takes, having gone through the experience themselves.
Yeah, I might check out the podcast. I when I see that thing come up, I'm like, well, maybe I don't need to learn more, but maybe I do.
There's also really fun on the Traitors' social media accounts. They show the murdered uh or eliminate, I guess the banished as well. They show them learning who the traitors are. And
Oh,
that's one element that I wish they put on the show. Like as the credits are playing or whatever. Love to see those reactions, but they do put them on social. And those are really fun to watch because sometimes they're like, I knew it. And then other times they're just so shocked.
oh, that's cool. Well, speaking of podcasts, if you would like to support this one, I would be very grateful if you would leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcast and write a review. You can write your questions, comments, thoughts. I will give you a shout out on the air. And you can get me on socials on TikTok at Mandy Miscast and on Instagram at Mandy_Kaplan_Clavens, both with K's. And there's like a membership. If you go to makemeanerd.com/join, you can be one of my faithfuls, and that gets you your episodes ad-free and early. Thank you very much in advance. The music on the show is interesting. There's this over-the-top score that is so dramatic. And then there's this killer song they play at the round table. His Body Lies by Estrella. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
That's that amazing song. And then I read in the UK, it's The Hanging Tree from Hunger Games.
Yes. It is the music. It's so funny because some of it seems to fit perfectly. And then every so often, my husband, Matt, who you've had on the podcast, talking about James Bond.
Matt DeGroat.
Yes, Matt DeGroat. We always laugh and say when it doesn't fit, that we're like, whose daughter sang this song that works on the show? Because sometimes it is just bonkers, the music choices that they have. But when it works, and just feeds into the whole Scottish castle murder mystery element of it. So it's hit or miss for sure, the music.
That song, His Body Lies, is almost like a dark Enya. It's like creepy.
Oh my God, 100%. That is the perfect way to describe it. Dark Enya.
And I'm so jealous you get to watch with Matt because I watch alone. And Jer said, should we watch Traitors? And I was like, I don't think you'll like it. He does not get into this kind of thing, and it's very over the top. It's not really a strategy game. It's more about, not more, I shouldn't say more, but a lot of it is about their looks and, who's forming an alliance with who. It's very typical reality show stuff, I think.
It's always interesting because I think that the show doesn't lean into some of the strategy that's happening because it breaks the conceit of the show. In the penultimate episode of the season, they started to talk about it a little bit, where those that are still around start to say, why am I still here? Am I friends with a traitor and they've been keeping me around because they know that I'm in an alliance with them and will vote with them, which protects them? And I think that there is a lot of stuff that either they're not saying out loud or they're saying out loud, but the show isn't showing us because it kind of breaks the thing. Because sometimes you don't want to get a traitor out. If you're convinced someone is a traitor, you want to buddy up with them and say, let's work together. And then you cut them at the very, very end when you're like, sorry, I thought you were a traitor this whole time. Thanks for getting me here. Bye. I want the money.
Right.
Sandra, who's won Survivor twice, she was on it and she figured because there's so many housewives, at least one housewife has to be a traitor. And she was right. And so she was like, I'm going to buddy up with the housewives because they, stick together. And she was like, I'm going to become a housewife because then I know that at least there's a traitor in the mix and they're going to protect me. And it worked. She lasted a really long time because they saw her as an ally. And so there's a lot of that because, they want you on camera saying, I want to get a traitor. I want to get a traitor. But half the time they don't actually want to get a traitor. They just want to live to see the next day.
Well, also, I mean, and I don't mean to be cynical and pull the curtain back, but there are appearance fees. The longer you stay on, the more hits you're going to get on your social media, the more brand opportunities you're going to get, right? I mean, if you're one and done, no one remembers you were on Traitors. So they want to stay on for a myriad of reasons.
Well, I'm so glad too, though, because again, spoiler alert if you haven't watched, but in season 3, Dorinda from the Housewives was the first one out, and I think they anticipated that she would be a big character, and people love her, and then she was first out, so they had her come back for season 4 because of that, and thankfully she lasted a lot longer.
If I say this to you, do you know what I mean? Clip.
Yes.
Do you know that that's her meme?
Yes.
She is a giant personality, mostly because she was drinking a lot on The Housewives. She was very intoxicated all the time, I thought. But she is a huge personality. She was quite muted.
I think the Housewives get there, and I think there's 2 things. One, we're used to seeing that. I mean, Lisa Rinna said this, like, I play a version of Lisa Rinna on The Housewives. And, that's not all I am. And I think there's a little bit of that where their guard is down. And I also think that for the most part, even if they're super smart, they're not super fans of the show. And so they're a little lost. I think that they're trying to figure it out and they're like, oh, but you're my friend. And it's like, yeah, but they should be used to this from the Housewives, but it's like, yeah, they're your friend, but also the name of the game is to lie to each other.
Right.
So,
and to be totally two-faced.
Correct. So I think, Sheree from Atlanta was on last season, and she admitted, she was like, I have no idea what's going on. And it, even in like, okay, so tonight we have to do what? They would show her being like, so tonight we have to do what? And like, they had to repeatedly explain the rules to her. And so I think there's a little bit of deer in headlights going on.
God love her.
With some of them. Because they're just like, oh, appearance fees, and I get a trip to Scotland and a castle, and this will be great. And then they show up and they're like, oh, wait, like, this is real? Like, we're actually doing this? It's not all fake?
So I have a question that I think is, we can come at it both from fans, or you might have knowledge because of your insider knowledge. I don't know. Are they allowed to be off camera together ever?
I don't know 100%, but I would imagine no.
That makes sense, right? Almost like a jury being sequestered.
Correct. They do spend and when they are off camera but together, usually the rules on these shows are you can't speak. In fact, there was like big drama ahead of season 49 of Survivor. 2 people got cut from the cast like a day before they started filming because they were caught talking amongst themselves. And supposedly there was even more than the 2 of them, but they only bring 2 alternates out, so they could only get rid of 2 of the like 4 or 5 that they caught having those conversations. So theoretically, it's the same on the Traitors, where they're not allowed to talk unless they're on camera.
I find that very interesting because here's my mainstream recommendation for you and anyone else. I listened to an audiobook called You Want to Be on Top, a memoir of makeovers, manipulation, and not becoming America's Next Top Model by Sarah Hartshorn. I wanted to make sure to give her a shout out because she revealed that they didn't let the models talk. They would put them in a holding room and say, you're going to come out in after hair and makeup or whatever, but they weren't allowed to speak often. But that makes no sense because there's no strategy to America's Next Top Model. On Traitors, I completely get it. Johnny and Tara would have been like, do you swear to me you're not a traitor? Great. Neither am I. Great. That makes total sense for Traitors to be like, if you happen to bump into each other in the hall, you are not to speak.
Yeah. Well, I think even on something like America's Next Top Model, 2 things. One, they want you to be stir crazy because you'll be more emotional, and if you're sitting there in your own thoughts, you're gonna literally be in your head more, and that's gonna make you more neurotic, and so therefore maybe make more interesting television. So that's part one. Part two is they don't want anything to happen off camera that might play into something that's on camera, and then they've missed that in terms of if two people get into a fight and it's off camera and that plays into the episode, they don't want to have to like have you just explain that. They want to be able to show it. Survivor does the same thing whenever they're going to and from a challenge or to and from tribal council where they vote somebody out. In early seasons, they would just let them talk because they were like, well, it doesn't matter. And then they realized that they were missing gameplay because all these conversations were happening where people were like mad that they didn't vote the way they said they were. And those conversations were happening off camera. So now they very quickly, in season 1, season 2, realized we need to make sure that they don't talk at all while in commute because there's stuff that's going to bleed into the game.
Gotcha. Can we talk? We need to talk about Michael. Do you remember that movie? We need to talk about Kevin.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I'd rather watch that movie on repeat than have to watch him anymore.
He was so problematic on so many levels. It was, I almost feel like they took just an angry, triggered psycho and plunked him in the game. And it wasn't, I don't think it made for good television. It wasn't like sometimes Michael
we love
Rapaport,
a villain,
by the way.
Yeah, sometimes we love a villain and we love to hate someone.
Yes,
he just made it not fun. Like
I agree.
He took it too far in many, many ways, and just it was watching, like you said, watching somebody that was just angry. I was glad to see he was self-aware enough to know that that's what he's like. And to know that he doesn't have the self-control to stop himself, even though he knows that's what he's like. But yeah, every week I was like, can he just go home? Because it sucked, as they said at the round table week after week, he just sucked the air out of the room in a way that made me not want to watch it. And I will say, I have friends that are super fans of the show, and they actually liked and enjoyed how crazy he made things, but I did not.
They're wrong, and I need for you to tell them that. I'm trying to find the quote. Oh, shit. Did Michael just say that? If anyone can keep a secret, it's Colton.
Yeah.
Right? Did that mean what I think it meant?
Well, okay, so for those of you unfamiliar, Colton Underwood, he was on The Bachelor he's on The Bachelorette as a contestant, I guess, and then was chosen to be the Bachelor for a season of that show.
For all those lucky ladies.
Yes, all those lucky ladies that he ended up stalking one of them.
What?
Yes. Oh my God. There's a whole backstory on Colton as well that I'll get into in a second. But for those of you that are not familiar, after his time on The Bachelor, he came out as being gay and now is happily married and has a kid, and he's doing well there. But in the interim after the show, he did end up like basically stalking one of the women on the show. I think it was part of him going through the process of coming to peace with who he is, and that manifested in a very negative way towards one of the women.
When you came out, did you stalk someone? Just
no.
Out of curiosity.
Yeah,
I'm just taking
again,
a poll.
Yes. Not justifying it or saying that is a normal way to go through that process. But just providing the timeline. So Colton is now an out and proud, openly gay man, but lived with a secret for many, many years. And Michael said, I think you'd be good at keeping a secret. I can't get into his heart or head to say that he 100% was referencing that. I do think having read his face once people started to accuse him of that, I do wonder if it was at the very least subconscious, because he did seem like, wait, what are you even talking about in terms of like, I can't believe you just said that. But regardless, it was awful. It was a horrible, horrible look.
I wonder
And
if this will affect Michael's relationship with Bravo, because I know he does watch what happens all the time. And, because he's like a straight dude who likes to talk about the housewives, right?
although I don't know, it's similar to He Who Shall Not Be Named, in my opinion. I think he's like, it's water off a duck's back with him. Like that's so much his personality that, people are just like, of course he said that sort of thing. I don't know. But it certainly wasn't fun to watch. And I'm glad that if that had to be the straw that broke the camel's back, I'm glad that it did to get him out of there, because I just hated watching him on this show.
Here's how smart I am. I thought, why isn't Rob voting for Candace? Wouldn't it make sense to vote off a traitor? Then you're the only traitor. And that helps you because you have a better chance of winning. And then he did it. Like right as I was thinking, vote for Candace. What's with you? He did. He heard me. So
He heard you.
Yeah.
He's played a fantastic game. At times, it's made me not like him, but I respect him as a game player. I also question the show in some of the times, because I think he's more strategic than the show is showing us, in that his actions, I think, are the right ones to get him to the end. Again, we're recording this right before the finale. But they've never fully let him explain, because I think they want his actions to seem like a surprise. So when he voted out Lisa, they literally had Candace ask him in the turret, which is where the traitors go to have their private conversations and decide who they're going to murder.
In their Handmaid's Tale
Yes.
cloaks.
She asks him, he goes, I guess I have some explaining to do. And she says, yes. And then they kind of give him like a half sentence of like, she just had to go. When I'm like, no, there was a lot more thought there. And I don't know if it's because it kind of peeled the curtain back too much. I have to imagine, and they've never allowed him to say this, but I have to imagine he was like, there's no way I'm going to the end with 2 housewives, because they're going to just get rid of me. So they split the money 2 ways instead of 1. I'm sorry, instead of 3. I have to imagine that was what was in his head. And he's like, I want to get somebody in here that I can control versus like being the odd man out in a group of 3. But they never let him fully explain that. And even when he turned on Candace,
I guess
he never fully
my
explained.
prediction was about Lisa the first time he voted for a housewife. So I still want to take credit for Rob's moves somehow, but retroactively.
I just wish that they were showing a little bit more, because I think he's super smart and strategic, and I feel like they've been not showing us all of his thought process, and I want a little bit more.
Yep. So I don't want to get too deep, because this is a fun, salacious, fluffy show. But friend of show and past guest, Johnny Lee Jr., commented on the show that he finds it problematic that they have essentially voted out all the people of color except for Eric.
I find it very interesting, though, if you really look at who spearheaded most of those votes out at the very beginning, it was Candace. And I, again, can't get in her head and heart, but I almost wonder if strategically she was like, if I'm the last Black person left, they will be less likely to vote me out, because they don't want to look bad. Because she spearheaded most of those either murders or banishments.
Interesting.
She was the one going after Ron, after Ron, after Ron. She's the one that voted out, the housewife that went first. Like, because I noticed that, like, it's stuff me and my friends talked about. And then I realized, I was like, she's behind it. And I do wonder if that was part of her strategy.
Well, that could be. When I watch these shows, even Top Chef, I'm often thinking they have to keep some diversity. They can't have the finale be 3 white dudes, so
yeah.
I'm always aware of that. So maybe she was thinking that. It's a little gross, but okay.
Yeah.
But Johnny also said something about this show shining a lens on America's general problem. And I don't want to get too deep, but I thought it was interesting. So using Tara as an example, she's like, I think it's Rob. Tonight I'm voting out Rob, right? And for those who are not watching, Rob is gorgeous. He's built, he's hunky and friendly and has blue eyes to die for. He's America's pretty boy. And as Tara is convinced and convincing others, and they're all like, yeah, let's go for Rob, they all 180 because they take one good look. They take a look at Rob and it's like they're denied. It can't be Rob. Look at him. He's a good old boy. He's right. And they talk themselves out of it and they don't vote for Rob. And it's like what America can do. They can bury their head in the sand about the truth about some of the people that, who shall remain nameless. It can't be. He didn't mean it. No. Right?
I agree. Though I also think that that's a little bit where the unspoken strategy is coming into play, where Rob has done a really good job of surrounding himself with loyal people, which maybe also goes into what you were talking about a minute ago with people who shan't be named. And so it gets back to, who do I want to go to the end with? And I think a lot of people were scared of Natalie because she was a gamer. And you would see, I laugh because I'm like, this is how I would be on the show. There was one challenge where they had to complete it in a certain amount of time, but they didn't know how much time they had left. Like there was no clock ticking down. They had to guess how much time. And if they got there after the clock ran down, they got no money. And so they got there and Alan says, oh, you got here 10 minutes early. And her first question was, can we go back and get more cash? Like she was constantly thinking and scheming and doing things that showed how much of a gamer she is. And so I think people were scared to take her to the end because I think that they would have thought she could have whipped votes and figured out how to get there. And so I think that probably came into play a little bit. And I do wonder if Mark is convinced that it is Rob, but is waiting to take him out at the very, very end. And again, it's interesting that we're talking about this before. It's obviously we'll have the answers, but at this point in the game, it is like, okay, well, how much are you voting because you actually think someone's a traitor versus how much are you voting because you're already thinking 3 steps ahead of like, how do I get to the end and then how do I manage this? I can't imagine that they don't get the traitors don't murder Johnny or Tara just because you would want to go to the end with both of them being a voting block that they're never going to turn on each other.
And Johnny might still be wandering in the forest, unable to find anything. That was pretty funny. So here's the last point I want to make. I don't know if it's the last point, but I want to say about the money that it's all fun and games and you're watching. And then a person named Tiffany, I can't even remember who Tiffany was. Do you want to help me?
Tiffany is a Big Brother player. I love her so much. Tiffany Mitchell. She's also been on The Challenge. She's great. I love her.
Okay, but she said, I genuinely need this money. I'm taking care of my son. And I think she said something about sending her son to college. Like she can't afford to send her son to college. And my heart broke. And here's Lisa Rinna, who we know is the, QVC queen and has money to burn, trying to take money out of the hands of Tiffany. And that feels problematic to me. That makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, that's America, I guess, but that's or the world. But yeah, I mean, it's also interesting how that comes into play on some of these shows. Survivor 50, one of the contestants there, it just had a kid, and he was like, I'm actually not gonna say I just had a kid because that makes me seem like I'll be more sympathetic to the jury, because in that show, a jury of eliminated contestants votes for the winner at the end.
Right.
And oftentimes people with sob stories get voted out because the remaining people say, if I'm sitting next to them, everyone's going to vote for them.
He has a kid.
So,
yeah.
So he's a new dad and he needs money for the kid. And so, that stuff happens. I will say in season 1 of UK Traitors, This is a spoiler, but it's just too good not to talk. The very first person banished is banished because after the traitors were chosen and they all take off their blindfolds, they all cheers to the faithful, and she did not cheers. And so that was the reasoning that everyone gave to say, we are going to banish you. The part that I'm leaving out is that she only has one hand, and the water glass was not positioned for her to grab it easily. And she was on the show because she wanted to get money
Oh
to
my
get
God.
herself a prosthetic.
Oh my
It was the
God.
saddest thing in the world, and you have to just laugh because it's just like so ridiculous and awful. But yes, the sob stories oftentimes are reasons for people to vote people out because they know I can't compete with that.
Oh, did we get through everything? Am I missing some grand point about Traitors that you need to get off your chest?
Just that it's just so fun, and I think the thing that it brings that I didn't expect it to is the breaks between episodes. If you're watching weekly, or even if you're not, you can pause it and really think about the strategy versus in a game of Mafia that you're playing with your friends. It's all happening very quick and it's all in one evening. And there's, not enough time to be like, is that the right choice? And what should I do? And so I think that that's one of the really fun things about this show, but also Survivor, which I've said, it's like a book club. It's like we pause the show and talk with our friends about like, did they make the right choice? And there's so much opportunity for that in this show because there's the banishments, but then there's also the murders. And did the traitors make the right choice? Did the faithful make the right choice in their banishments? There's so much to dive into and just like savor in terms of the strategy and gameplay that's I think at the end of the day why people love it. And a lot of people, because they bring in the Housewives fans, because they bring in the Love Island fans, because they bring in the Michael Rapaport fans, if there are any. There's a lot of people that have never watched competitive reality shows that love this show, and so I'm so glad that it's bringing people into the fold and making them curious about. I have so many friends in the same way that I'm like, I've never watched the Housewives really, but now I want to watch because I love Phaedra or I love Dorinda. There's a lot of people that are like, I never watched Survivor, but I love Natalie, and so now I want to go watch her seasons. I love that it's growing the reality fandom.
Where does this rank for you?
Oh,
There's
I mean,
Survivor and Big
right now
Brother,
it's-
right? Those are your...
yeah, and Amazing Race, and then you get to the other ones like that are slightly different, but Top Chef and all of those. Right now, Traitors is like the new shiny thing. Alan Cumming was the first person to unseat RuPaul as a reality show host at the Emmys because it's the new shiny thing. And so that I think kind of elevates it where, it's appointment television and it's going to be spoiled if we don't watch it as soon as it drops at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on Peacock. And so last night I had the penultimate episode of season 4 aired, and I had dodgeball that I had to get to, and I ran home early from work so that we could watch before I had to go to dodgeball, because if not, like, we might not watch until the next day and it would get spoiled. So I think in terms of like appointment television, it actually might be number one. Survivor and Amazing Race and Big Brother, those are probably, in my opinion, the legacy shows. So I that's a tough question. I think it ranks number one in appointment television. It probably ranks like 3 or 4 in what I think is like the best that's on right now.
Fantastic. Thank you for making me a nerd about it. I get it. I need as much distraction and healthy things to focus on in this dark, crazy time. So this is perfect. This just takes you completely out of your head and out of the world. And I appreciate you bringing this to me.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say to that point is also just the gorgeous location shots that they like. The show is just so beautifully shot. So if you're looking for a good distraction,
They find a lot of
Yes.
swamps.
Lots of swamps.
Anything you need to plug? People can read your stuff at Entertainment Weekly.
Yeah, we do a lot of Traitors coverage at Entertainment Weekly, so you can find that at EW.com and on Entertainment Weekly's socials. We talk to the eliminated contestants. We post some of their video interviews that they do, and just can't wait to continue watching and covering this show. I was fortunate enough to get to do an interview with Alan for our Pride issue into 2025. So you can go find that out in the world. The motion cover is just gorgeous, and he talks a lot about the diversity of the cast and also, what it was like, all the fantastic theater and all the things that I know you and I love aside from competitive reality. But it's a great piece. So if you want to seek that out, I got to write that last year as well. And thank you for having me, Mandy.
I will never banish you. I will never murder you. I love you. Thank you for doing
We're
this.
the Tara and Johnny.
Yes, we are the Tara and Johnny. Oh. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Until next time.